Welcome back, guys. In our last session, I was installing. I had a bunch of issues running back and forth with the servers and our Windows 7 machine and the VMware Tools client. Did some research on it again, and in the meantime, I found the resolution. Um, Unfortunately, my machine just hung and it destroyed and it um, broke my 2008 my 2012 server, so I had to reconfigure everything. I took one of my old ones here. Just gonna power this machine on, and I will log into my Windows 7 and I'll show you guys. um I'll show you. Okay, so uh, there is a fix for the tools, VMware tools fix. Fortunately, for Windows 7 and 2008 R2 service packs. Tools version 11.1 or later releases will no longer support Windows Vista SP2 and SP2 1. So the oldest support versions of Windows for these release tools is now Windows 7, SP1, and Windows Server R2 Service Pack 1. So to resolve this issue, the VMware Tools version prior to 11.1 from the downloads package. So this is where I would download it. We did go ahead and download it from Broadcom's website, but unfortunately that one I had to create the ISO image. I had to burn it on a CD DVD and change and create an ISO out of that, an ISO file. So to upgrade it. So what I did was I basically um, VMware was has a package release tool. So I'll send this information later. You don't have to worry about copying it, but it's got all the versions of the Windows. VMware has it. It's all the VMware tools. So I just downloaded the latest version prior to 11.1, just to give it a test. And just gonna download this. Here's the ISO if you still need the ISO to mount it, but we're gonna download the 64-bit version. And okay, so I've gone ahead and downloaded the version. Um, so we downloaded the version, and I basically I'm gonna install it manually. So I'll send out the links later on, but again, um, documentation on that. So hopefully should help you guys resolve that issue. So I will go ahead and search for that. Looks like the link is dead, so I'll have to take a look. Link, and then switch it over to not 12.4. That's the latest one, but I'll switch it over to 11.0. So I'll show you how to install it. Um, your vCenter server and your vClient and whatnot. Um, okay, so this um is gonna fix the issue. So I've gone ahead and already copied it over. So I am able to kind of share back and forth between the drives. Map drive, I can map the drive one of my servers, my neighboring server, which is a server, just map that drive and um, copy it over to my desktop on this Windows 7. So I'm gonna log in. Once I log in, I should now be able to um, there it is, and I'm able to kind of move that file. So I kind of put all the tool files here, and I was able to kind of share that. Should be here somewhere here. So yeah, I just moved it. It was here. I deleted it obviously, and then I was able to kind of um, do a Windows R in here in this machine. Um, uh, okay, Windows R. Uh, Windows R. There you go. And then just open the path, the server path, because it is I was able to share that folder. So I just right click and then give access to specific people and then just hide everyone as a right. That click the link, right? I'm not sure if I'm able to copy into here because the VMware tools does not work. So I'll just copy it into a um, notepad or something, and just paste it over, or just remember that. So I'm now able to paste that folder, right? And then just do a Windows R, okay, I'll open. Take some time, I guess. It's loading the machine. So again, I took the 11.5 version that I had. That's there we go. There's another password. And I'll log in with my credentials. All right. Once I've signed in, I should be able to now open the folder and then drag it over. So here's the so now it's set up backup. So I'm in my domain server. And see drive users, and I'll go to my desktop, and then obviously it was in here, and then I just copied it, and then moved to my desktop here, and then pasted that there. So once that's done, I should now be able to launch it without any issues. So in this instance, it should work, right? So let's try that and see what happens. I am also able to um, turn on TLS 1 and 2. That should help it. Back devices here, but I should be able to. But also, um, there we go. Just one a little bit older. Again, I can either do a typical or I can do a complete. So I'll use this complete for now on this one and then install it. Right there. Um, let's see. Okay. Finish. And then restart the machine. Remember, all these applications are deprecated, so um, you know, enable ActiveX as well. That's a feature that we um, forgot to mention, and that will actually display the video animation on a web page. So let's see if we can get that going on our Windows 7 machine, and then on our Windows 12 machine, again, like I said, I ran into some problems before in our last video. So while I'm running the VMware tools, um, I just opened up an old version. Usually with Windows 12, it's the last time you're supposed to add those 3 lines of code. So that was supposed to work. I'm not sure what happened there with the actual version, but it seemed like I had this machine running and that machine running at the same time. So maybe it thought like, hey, what, you had it twice. So I kind of went ahead and I'm gonna reopen a machine. It may have um it may have, oh, I changed the password. Oh, okay. So that's good. Then we'll turn on the ActiveX controls. So prevent site from installing and using apps. It'll help us keep us safer, and it can also affect the performance of certain sites. So when active filtering is on video games and other interactive content might not work. So we're gonna turn it on for that, and we'll do that. We'll go to tools. We'll go to the tools button. Okay. We'll go to the tools button, and then we will point to the safety in the drop down and ActiveX filtering, safety ActiveX filtering. Um, Okay, so we'll go to Tools, Internet Options, and then in the Securities tab, we'll go to Custom Level, uh, we're going to select the custom level for Internet, and we should be able to see the ActiveX controls and plugins, and then we'll go ahead and turn those on. Um, for ActiveX, that's an important feature we forgot to mention, and I'm going to just turn on enabled, and that'll give us the display video. And then we'll enable that, and then we'll also allow Internet Export to display video animation on our web page. There we go. Enable. That does not use external media. That's that one there. And then we're also going to allow the Explorer agent controls. So I'm going to copy that because that's also important for Windows 11. I know Windows 11 IE it's deprecated. We're not using Edge, but I'm going to save this information for you guys, and I'm going to um, this is for Internet Explorer IE 11, and then ActiveX, enabling. So we will enable ActiveX and other security features to allow us to view web pages. Okay, there's the link for that. Yeah. Okay. So we'll enable that just to enable ActiveX. The steps are pretty much within here. So these are all the steps to change them and pictures and whatnot. So this will kind of explain. So let's confirm that we've done the 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, enabled them, and then we'll move on to the next step. So these are specific things that happened throughout our testing in our last video. So I'm just trying to resolve those issues as they happen. Um, Again, this is all deprecated stuff, guys. So you have to understand that IE 11 no longer exists. We use Microsoft Edge. Windows 7 no longer exists. That's been deprecated for a few years now. Windows 2008's been deprecated for a few years now. But it's always good to touch base on the old on the old software. Just reminds me of back in the days and how long and how many years I've been doing IT. So I do miss this stuff from time to time. I like to use the old applications. So hopefully, you guys are able to uh, try that as well too if you haven't tried that yet, and follow along with me and watch my videos so that you can get more of an insight as to what's happening. Again, all the information that I've been talking about today is going to be in our uh, descriptions. um so please bear with me. uh put your pens down, watch as put your pens down as you guys follow along and with me installing this. So I've gone ahead. I'm going to go ahead and confirm the changes that I've made. So to download the ActiveX, sign controls. Uh, so we are enabling automatic prompting for ActiveX. Prompting for ActiveX. Automatic prompting for ActiveX. That's one. And then the second one, we're going to allow Internet Explorer to display video and animation. So two. Right? We're enabling that. Enabled that. And the next one is Download assigned ActiveX controls, which is just below that. And we're going to select enabled. And if you want to be notified each time this happens, of course we do. And allow Internet Explorer to run ActiveX controls and plugins by selecting enable or prompt. This will allow us to be notified each time this happens. So run ActiveX right here, controls and plugins. I'm going to enable that. And then allow Explore ActiveX controls, allow so script ActiveX controls, script ActiveX controls. We are going to leave that if you want to be notified. Okay, so that's pretty much done. I'm gonna now click OK. I'm gonna make sure that we made these changes. We changed the settings for this zone, and then our settings again will be put at risk, but this will allow us to kind of view. So again, here are the flags, guys. Restoring internet security settings to their recommended levels will help it. We're not going to restore that yet. Again, we'll close this and we'll reopen Internet Explorer. And hopefully that'll change the outlook of it. So in this case, we are going to go to just saying that security opening the security level puts your computer at risk. We're well aware of that. We can download we can have antivirus installed if we want to install our antivirus, or we can install a certificate for that. So I'm just going to type in www.microsoft.com. Run. I'm just going to wait till that runs. Just a little bit bigger. Oh, let's put there you go. So recommended, certificate or navigation blocked, obviously. We added the SSL certificates for that. It takes a little bit of time. Just gotta add the S in front of that, and that'll help resolve the issues that we're having. We also went ahead and prevented pop-up blockers. And we can, import and export certificates. We can manage those add-ons and extensions and private filtering add-ons and whatnot. And that's it. Yeah. And we also have our TLS 1.1 and 1.2. I'm also going to use SSL 2.0. I'm going to apply that and hit OK. It should now work. Hopefully this should work. I should be able to open Google without no problems. Again, this has been deprecated, so okay, so we can also download Chrome. I can always bring Chrome down here if I want to. But we're not going to do that now. We're just going to use this as a client machine. We can do whatever we want with it. I can eventually Oh, there we go. We fixed that problem. Works when it wants to. So you could see how it looks a little bit better. Um, Again, this is an old IE 11 is um, no longer available. So I've gone ahead and again, you know, so that makes it a little bit better. Hopefully I can now type in office.com, office.com. Happens. Let's see, portal.office.com. See what happens. May take some time. See how the images look. Yeah, the images look a little bit better than before, so that kind of helped uh, resolve that problem. But again, I can always download Google. I can always download Google and bring it over, so that shouldn't be an issue. So if I run Google Chrome here, I think I've added Google Chrome here, if I'm not mistaken. Can always bring it down for internet if I want. Um, Options. And now I should be able to map the drives if I want to and create an auto login, enable that. So adding, actually, this is my DC. So I'm going to enable the share, and I want to add Google Chrome um, as a part of an application. Um, so you know, the whole thing. Might as well. Okay, next, next, finish. I can always remove it if I want to, and then hit OK. Um, so once I open this PC, should be able to see that. Applications. And if I do a search for Google, let's see, Google. Did I download it? I did. Okay, that's great. So I have Google Chrome. Perfect. I will take this one here. Applications or logos. Okay. So I'll I'll move this file over here. Um, in my when VMware tools, and I'll just remove it after, just temporarily, or give access to another folder if I want. But it's gonna make this as quick as possible. I have internet. I'm not trying to resolve something that's been deprecated and whatnot. So I've gone ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and um, let's see what I can do. Okay, and then Google Enterprise. I'll move it to the top here. Gonna copy that. That's good. I can now shut that, and then I'm gonna take trace. I'll take that too as well. There you go. So I'll leave that there. Put that in here. So I should now be able to transfer over Google Chrome. That way I have it. I can install it. I don't have to worry about the internet. That's the beauty of this thing. Again, I can always go to google.com, do Google download. Let's see if that'll actually help. Hopefully I should be able to download or switch now or launch that. Um, it's a little faster. See if I can download this first. If not, I'll, like I mentioned before, I can always go here and then go to my Windows R key and then run my C drive. So there's a plethora of different ways I can do it if you want. So again, I can go through mapping my drives, or I can go through Google Chrome if it lets me. Yeah, it's just taking too long. So let's not worry about that. We can search for the server. C sharp. It should ask me for a password. Yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the administrator password. I put my super admin password, which is my domain admin. My domain admin. Um, Domain admin. He is part of. He's part a member of domain users. Yeah, perfect. So he's part of the administrators and the domain admins, part of the domain. I haven't really added this to the domain yet, but it should work. Um, so I should be able to log in without any issues. Oh wait, this is yeah, that's right. So many here. Okay, let's type that in again. It should be good now. Users, folder, desktop, this folder here, and then I'll drag this, and I'll drag this. Um, in one of my other videos, I had a remote desktop. This is a Cisternal app. It wasn't working, so I ended up downloading it from Cisternal's page. So I've gone ahead and um, just to show you guys what it looks like. So this one here needs Net Framework, so I can go ahead and download Net Framework 4.0. So all I need to do is download that, and that should work. This should also work on this machine. So if I take this file, let's see, if I take this file, it should work on this machine here because it's got a net. If I go to AppWiz, I should have it installed already on that framework. I have it, but I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. But if not, we can always, again, I can always pull it from here, from my network location, and just run it on the desktop itself. There's no issues with that. Just download it and then run it. Extract all. So I'll create a folder, and then I can run my RDC. So this should work here. I know because tested this so many times. Um, so now I should be able to create new machines here or open new machines here. Well, it looks like it's opening. Um, so I know we got the, let's see if I can just download the Net Framework. Um, Net Framework 4.0. Okay, that's fine. Let's download Net Framework, download Net Framework. right, so let's go ahead and download that on this machine. Something is not working on this. Okay, no problem. I think I've already, okay, run as admin. Let's see. The UI is not picking up, so um, hmm, let's try to install Net Framework for that. Cancel that. I don't need that no more. I'll close that. Okay. And here we should have installed Windows. I mean, sorry, Google Chrome. Install that. So we have Internet. Go ahead and install that. I'll pin this here because I'm going to be using this a lot. So should be there. Should be good. Okay. So I'm able to do that. No problems. I'm just going to download that while that's waiting. This is expired. I'm going to um I'm gonna run the extension on that. I'll show you guys how to run the extension. For Windows 12. Uh, run the evaluation on that. Um, I'll send some information on that as well too. Mm, I can extend this license for an extra for one more time. Um, so I'm going to see. It should work. Um, okay, so just run a PowerShell command here. PowerShell is the admin. And hopefully that would fix it. Again, I install Hyper-V on this machine. So, um, you know, I've gone ahead and created the settings for you guys. So, all the switches here. So I'm going to show you guys and explain how this all works and how we can create a virtual machine. Um, this is just a basic, again, Hyper-V machine with the Hyper-V manager. I can again, create checkpoints for each of these, or I can just create different hard virtual disks, and I'll explain what each of these are as soon as I'm done with the rearming of the server. So I'm going to run this as admin, and I'm going to run the SLM manager EVS rearm for that, and that should extend the evaluation period. And then we can use some other commands, and I'll show you guys how to use those other commands. All right. So let's go ahead and stop that. Let's put, there you go. Let's add both to the system here. So first one we're going to run is the um, SLR manager, salt manager slash rearm. That code there will rearm the trial period. I think we have up to 5 times for this. So I'm able to now rearm that and play it. Its command is successfully completed. I'll restart the machine to take effect. And then I also want to see the concurrent licenses, the time remaining, and how much time we're remaining for that. And how do we do that? We run the SLM manager, SL manager dash DLV command. I'll show you that too. I can show you this. These are all the commands and what these commands do. you want to know what each key does, just type in SL Manager, Software Licensing Manager Tool, .exe, .vbs, which is a VBS script, and the global options or switches that are there for you, okay? So again, SL Manager is Windows Software Management Licensing Management Tool. Okay, and then hit OK. My next command, and then there's some more. You can follow along and KMSs and activate Active Directory and display activation objects, display installation IDs, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so next one is DLV. Right. So the software licensing version has been expanded, and we're going to just hit OK. And then we also have the ATO, and then just let you know that it's running, should be fine. There's no issues. I've gone ahead and installed it already. Yeah, we can use the software licensing management tool to view and install or activate or extend my Windows licenses um, in my evaluation period. You can rearm up to 6 times. 6 times. Let me write that down. So let's do this. So reactivating Windows 2012 R2 evaluation. Um, so you have you can rearm the license period up to 6 times. So 180 days times six, which is approximately 3 years. When that period comes to an end, you can run the rearm. So run SL Manager rearm to extend it by another 180 days. Okay, that's how you do that. Um, so I've gone on ahead and done that. I'm going to restart the machine. Um, restart the machine. And I want to install Hyper-V on a 2016 just to kind of show you the differences. So I'll go ahead and do that in 1 second. All right, so I'm back. I'm gonna reboot the machine. I think I've already mounted the ISO image. In this one I put 1000, 2019. Given in a NAT adapter. I'm just gonna add. Just want to show you guys how to add it. I know we had the problem with the last two machines. Those were something happened to those machines and they no longer work. So I had to show you guys with the Windows 12 here, and also show you guys how I installed it. I don't think there should be any issues. Hopefully, there shouldn't be any problems. We don't have to add anything. The only thing I'm is adding the visualize Intel VT, an ADM, ATP VX files, so that's enabled. And other than that, um, there's no thing else I think we're gonna need. Synchronize the guest time with the host. Um, I do want to use it uh, automatically. Okay, okay. So we're gonna go ahead and restart this machine, and hopefully I can show you a working installation of Hyper-V, and then we'll go ahead and do some theory about what class A, B, C, D is and IP addresses, and then we'll talk about this Hyper-V installation and how it works. Okay, so let's go ahead. Again, on a Windows 12, like I said before, hopefully now I should be able to work to log in. So I've gone ahead and log in first, and then we'll start the new install. Okay. Enter. So now I'm installed, in, and again the license is enabled. Perfect. So we've enabled the licensing. In this instance, I'm going to just reboot the machine, or I could start from the SATA drive. By clicking, I should be able to now boot from a CD. There you go. And then, or I can obviously can go here, power, power onto firmware for the BIOS. Another thing I want to check was um, did I um, UEFI BIOS enable security? Okay, all right. So it's an UEFI mode by default. Okay, so we'll go ahead and enable the setup. So let's run the fresh new uh, machine. While it's running, I'm going to put this to this. I'm just going to put them side by side for now and talk a little bit about what Hyper-V is. I know I didn't have a chance to finish it, so let's go ahead and finish talking where we left off in terms of theory, and then practical at the same time. I know yesterday we talked about um, what IP is, network and host. We talked about so private IP addresses. Again, those ranges, these ranges here, um, these ranges are reserved for use in a private network, sort of what we're doing here. We can use the 0.0.0. And then we can use the 172.16.0, and we can use 192.168.0. Those are for use in your private networks or LAN networks, or like local networks, they call it. Private IP is also, let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. So private IP is, I'm going to click next here. So private IP, um, private IPs are not routable on the public internet. Uh, they're free. They're assigned by us, the admins, or from a DHCP, and private IPs work well with NAT. So they also allow devices on a private network to communicate with devices uh, on the public internet. Um, Public IPs, I think, I don't know if we talked about those, but here's some companies in the US, and there's some in Canada, like TELUS, Bell, Rogers. In the US, we have Fios, Comcast, Spectrum, Cox Communication, AT&T, Frontier, T-Mobile. These are some of the companies, big companies, and sources from across the web. These guys are what these public IPs or these ISPs are assigning public IPs to everybody so that they're able to see it. I have a link here in case you guys want to learn a little bit more. Again, public IPs are globally unique. They're global. Remember, they're not just in Canada and the US, they're also in Europe and Africa and China and Russia, in India, in Australia, et cetera, et cetera. They are routable on the internet, so they are routable. We're able to route them and follow their path. Example, when I'm in command prompt, let's see if I open up a command prompt here. I'm able to route command prompt. I'm able to route the IP by netstat, which is, or route the IP. All right, guys, give me 1 second. And again, you're able to Windows routing tables. Like what we type route print, uh, and that's kind of shows us our the route print command, which is also cool. This shows us the destinations and gateways for packets. We can add static routes, but again, that's another command. This will show us the tables and the routes for them. What I mean by routing is the active routes that are included here. And then we also have our IP routes, IPv6 routes, and our interface routes and whatnot, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So this is sort of like a cool command to use if you haven't used it for your network, guys. I use it a lot. I love it. It's a great it's a great command. This helps with routing, viewing your like your destinations and whatnot. So route print is good. We also have something called uh, so we also have we can add static routing. So we can add the destination network mask, the subnet mask, and the gateway. If we don't specify subnet mask, again, it'll automatically. If you don't, um, we can find that, and that'll kind of, if we were to use the route print command, we can now look at the table and we can see our new static routes. We can add static routes manually, and again, that's all typically static route 192. Say for example, 168. Um, let's say 35.0, right? Well, say route add, let's say 192 dot 168 dot, let's say 100 dot 11, right? And then our subnet mask 255 dot 255 dot 255 192.0.0, and then our gateway 192.168.100.10, whatever it is, however you guys have your network. This can change again if I want to. So I need to do this in required mode. So I'll take a copy of this, copy this. Mark, all right, and then copy, right, and then right, and then rerun this in command prompt as elevated. Do the route print. This is a cool command, great command, and then paste. Oh, right click. If I right click, paste, should be able to put that in now. Um, uh, is the add? Okay, maybe there's some spaces that I need to add. Interesting. Okay. So it's just the destination network and then the gateway IP metric. But again, it should work, that command. I'm not sure why, but anyway, we'll just stick to adding it. We'll just stick to um supposed to work, but we can find the routing table that way within command prompt, which is kind of cool. Cool feature. Please feel free to use it anytime. It's great. You can also use netstat, right? Netstat gives you the active connections, TCP, IP protocols, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can use the ARP command, which is kind of cool, ARP/A. That'll give you the dynamic and static tables. Um, Another great command you can use. And that's it. So let's close that off. Let's close this and go on to the next topic. So again, public IPs are costly. Please note they are costly, and IRPs are on global networks. Okay. Um, Next topic, again, the different types of classes. You guys want to know the different types of classes. Sorry about that. Minimize that. There's 5 different classes. In an IP range, we're worried about these 3 classes, right? These 2 are other classes that we'll also talk about. But the main 3 ones that you want to talk about in an internal network are public network and private network are your 10.0.0 A class to 10.255.255.255 slash 8 CIDR. And then subnet class B is 172.16.0.0. You're more than welcome to use these at any time. Then you have your class C and D. So your class A, again, there's 5 classes of IP4 addresses. Again, like I noted, class A, B, C, and D based on their first octet, right? So first octet 10, first octet, and that one will be 0 to 127, and that's our class A, or 10.0.0.1 or 12.0. Those are considered class A. They're used in large networks with many devices. Seen printers being used. I've seen routers and switches and VMs, hardware devices, scanners, printers, mostly, even router switches, whatever you want, your heart's desire, you can do that. Um, there's also something called the IANA, which is our IPv4 address space. I'm not sure if I spoke about this, but again, this is our internet assigned number authority, and it'll tell us what our prefix is, 0, and what's if it's reserved, allocated, legacy, and so forth. So if I were to go to 127, I think 127 is the loopback address, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I am a loopback. and that's reserved for loopback. You can't really use that. And there's also what else? What else is popular number here? But you guys kind of get the drift. I'll post that again for you guys just to take a look. Please feel free to read up on this and use this for troubleshooting. Um, these are your footnotes if you need any more information. Class B, again, there's 5 classes in the IP, A, B, C, D, E, second on the list based on their first octet. Remember the first few bytes of the address of the first might determine the class. So in this case, it's 128 to 191. Or for example, we have 2 IP addresses, 172.0.01 or 128.0.01. Those are considered class B. That's in between 128 and 191. Class B can also be used for medium-sized networks with many devices. We're looking at almost 6,600, 66,000 devices. Class C, IPv, private IP again. The 5 classes are A, B, C, D, third on the list based on their first octet. Remember, the first few bytes of the address in the first octet might determine its class. So in this case, 192 to 223 is class C. So we have our private and public IPs like 192.0.0 private to 223.225, 225, 225. We also have another one that's class C, which is 194.0.0.1, which can be classified as a public IP. Right, our public IP, right? So these are our public IPs from and to destination to host, right? And again, I did note that, in there you have your network address, your first 3 octets are your network address, or first 2, and then you have your host address, which is your last octet. So class C, again, thin provisioning, we talked about that. And in Hyper-V, we have something called dynamic expanding. I'll also explain what that means. But again, you also have your T, D, and E. Remember, there's 5 classes of IPv4 addresses based on their first octet. You just have to remember the first few bits of the address, which kind of determine its class. In this case, class D is classified as 224.0.0.0 to 239.255.255.255. Class D is and can be used in multicasting groups and not meant for individual hosting. So I'll break this down. Multicasting is a seamless transmission of data from one sender to multiple receivers, right? Several widely used apps use multicasting, at least at the logical level. Something like audio, video, teleconferencing, they use that. Real-time video streaming, they use that as well. And any distributed databases and the maintenance of those distributed databases. So the multicast packets of the, let's say the IP, source IP, will always be a unicast IP, right? And again, IANA also has the multicast addressing, and it'll talk about the different blocks, the control blocks that they have, and what those blocks are and what they're used for, and who owns what and whatnot. Okay. Description, for example, this one here uses OSPF routers 244.0.0.5, etc., etc., etc. Right. Next class and last class is IP class E. That is can be used for reserved for researching experimental purposes. I've seen that used a lot and widely used a lot. It's probably for scientific or for researching. Um, Again, Class C goes from 240 to 255. I also want to talk about what a PIPA addressing is, and that is important because a PIPA addressing is is common, and you guys have to understand the what that is, so that way when you do see it, and that stands for automatic private IP addressing. So it's a feature that in Microsoft Windows, excuse me, that enables computers to automatically assign themselves an IP address within a range of the 169.54 to 169.50 254.255.254. So when a DHCP server is unavailable, that's when the IP address comes in. So it'll allow computers on the same local network, that's on the same VNet or local network, to communicate with each other, even if there's no DHCP server present to assign the IP. Again, you can change that, and those can be obviously removed and adjusted as accordingly. Very common in virtual machine and vSphere. I've seen that. Again, processors, I'm not going to touch too much base on it, but again, we know physically one socket, number of cores, dividing it into 2 cores. Each core will act as an independent processor. 4 cores basically means 4 portions of a physical chip. So if you know what a physical chip looks like, there's 4 portions of that. That's a 4 core. And there's 2 core, 4 core, 8 core, 6 core, and 32 core. Firewall, again, blocks incoming and outbound traffic. Machine to the outside is open. That's what a firewall, and we can turn it off or on at any time. Our DNS feature, we don't need a domain controller for virtualization. You see in time, I do have it as a role. I can, but if we do use DNS, again, the feature itself, we're creating forward lookup zones, and we're creating reverse lookup zones. And that obviously it assigns IPs to host names and host names to IPs. There's also external, internal, external DNS and internal DNS. I'm not sure if I touched base on that with you guys yet, but again, there is a difference between those. So it's always good to understand what the differences between these two are. So if I were to, for example, okay, so let's open up the drawing board here. Let's open up the drawing board again. Let's make it a little. This takes a little bit of time here, so let's open up Paint. I'll open up Paint right now. It's a little easier for me to work with. I love Paint. Okay, so let's say, for example, this is your laptop. And then you have your DNS, right? And then you have your Google server. Okay, for example, Google server. I'll tell you what this is about and why we use this and why it's being used. So for example, DNS, right? So this is your laptop, admin laptop. Then we have our DNS. Then we have Google DNS, domain name server. And we also have Google server, Google server, Google server, Google server. How this works, okay? So imagine this is your setup, right? So in step 1, from your laptop, you open up your web browser, you open up the internet, right? So you have your internet, you open up your internet. Oh, okay, so let me put the cloud here. Okay, so this is the internet cloud. So imagine you're, make this a little bigger. Okay. So imagine from your laptop, you open up the browser, and then you type in www, put this down, www.google.com. Okay. That's the website you type, right? And then you type in the website, and then from the internet, the requests, go back to my pen, from the internet, okay, those requests, right, goes to the DNS server, right? So it goes to the DNS server and checks entries, right? So it checks the entries, it checks the entry in the and then from there, the request goes to an external DNS. So for example, this is your external DNS, right? External DNS, right? And then from there it creates from there it sends it to the Google server, right? And from the Google server, it sends it back. From the Google server, it sends it back, and so forth. So imagine, and sends it back to the DNS saying, "Hey, I understand. I know who you are. You're a DNS." And then that ping from the website, it pings, and then from the ping, a request goes to the DNS, and then we can create an internal DNS. What do I mean by that? Internal DNS is basically included in the domain itself. So if I have AD, right? I have AD, and then I have my DNS role. So I have my internal DNS here, with a records, right? So this is my domain, and then I have my DNS, right? And that's called the internal DNS, which is a little bit different. Internal DNS. Get that out of the way here. Let me draw another color here. Let me do color. So my internal DNS, internal DNS. So that internal DNS, when it's created, I can now connect 5 clients to any website, ping a machine, and then all the requests go to the internal DNS for information, and then that internal DNS will redirect or see the internal website. Internal DNS won't so the internal DNS won't have information about google.com, but it'll go out to the external DNS. It'll go to the external DNS, and it'll check its information and point you to the Google server, right? So which will load on the client's laptop. So, which will load on the client's laptop, right? Internet towards the client's laptop. So you have to kind of understand um how external DNSs work. So the external DNS will go to the Google server, right? Or www dot, right, from www.google.com. And again, the external DNS connects to the external DNS, and then it also connects to the internal DNS, right? So imagine a DNS, for example, I don't know, let's say in the yellow pages you have www dot google.com, right? That's basically an IP address. Let's say, for example, 10 dot let's say 100 dot whatever dot 113 dot 114, right? That right there is the external DNS, and that's what the DNS um is told to do. So that's what DNS is. It is important that you understand that, because there are its differences. So from the laptop, you're typing in that, or you're right, and then you know, it basically goes to the internet. You type in www.google.com, then the request goes to the DNS server, right? It checks the entry, and then it goes to the Google server, and then back to the laptop. So again, your request goes to the DNS, the external DNS. It creates an internal DNS or internal website from an internal website. And then, for example, any 5 clients that connect, or myself connects to any website on that internal DNS, I can ping a machine, and then all the requests that go to the internal DNS for information, and then the internal DNS will see that or redirect to that internal website. And then the last step is when the internal DNS won't will not have information about the but it'll go out to the external DNS and check its information and then point you to the Google server, which will load it on the client's machine or laptop, right? That's what DNS is. Hopefully, you guys understand the differences, right? So, like check what's my IP? That's your external DNS, or name or whatever. You can Google that. You can even, Google, um, ping, www.google.com, and this will give us our external DNS, right? That's our external DNS. 172.217.1.4. And I can also ping something else like I don't know, like Microsoft.com, which is another great idea, great website. Ping that. So that right there is resolving host names, right? So it's resolving it to e13678.dscb.aka myedge.net, right? And then that resolves into 184.25.68.150. And I can also ping an internal DNS, which is let's say, for example, I can ping our Windows 7 machine, right? So let's try to ping our Windows 7 machine, see what happens. I think I called it wrong. Let me see if I can sysdm.cpl. So that machine there. So that's the machine I want to ping. So our internal DNS, again, we'll ping it. And again, it travels again. The request goes to the external DNS, right? When you're pinging a website. Uh, so from the internet, you can browse that website, and then the request goes to the DNS server, and then checks the entry, and then from that it'll go back to the laptop, right? So let's see if we can put this in here, ping that, paste, see what happens. So that's our internal DNS. I think I have IPv6 enabled. I think so. Let's see what happens here. Sharing. Go to the adapter settings, right click. I think I have IPv6 enabled. IPv4 is enabled. And then what about the network? Do I have that enabled here? Yeah, so I'll have to remove that. Hit OK. Refresh. All right, let's try that again, see what happens if I can resolve that. Okay, so that's okay. That's okay. That's no problem. Let's look up. So that's good. It resolves that. Let's do an IP config /all. Oh, Control C. IP config. Control C. IP config /all. And it looks like I'm able to, okay. And then I can do an IP config /release, right? And then IP config /renew, which will renew that. And then hopefully I should now be able to ping that, see what happens. Oh, there you go. That's fine. Not a problem whatsoever. But again, I'm able to ping that and send the statistics that way, which is okay. I might have to um, properties. That's just IP. Okay, so that's enabled. Is it okay? Okay, so again, that's that. So I've kind of gone ahead and explained to you guys what the difference is between external DNS and internal DNS. Again, it's pretty straightforward, self-explanatory. Um, what else? What else can we do? Um, Give me one sec, guys. Figure out what else I can talk about. Let me make sure I kind of again explain to you a little bit more what DNS is so that you guys understand. So DNS is domain name system. This might seem confusing or might not, but again, it resolves and converts, just so you guys know, IP IPs to host name and hosts names to IPs through a zone. And I'll show you what the zones are here in my DNS server. Say, for example, here's my DNS server. Um, Open up the DNS server. I'll quickly show you guys the DNS manager. My zones are here. These are the zones. So when we're creating them, we have primary zone, which creates a copy of a zone, right? And then we have our secondary. Um, so secondary just creates a copy that exists on another server. So if you have uh, a another DC that's a replica DC that's on another domain, that option helps you balance the load balance of those primary, and then provides fault tolerance. Then we also have a stub zones that creates start of authority, name server, and possibly host records. So that server contains a stub zone, is not really authoritative for that zone itself. We typically use primary zones in this case because um, it is a test environment. And then we also store the zones in Active Directory, right? So those zones can also be here if you want, okay? Those are available only if the DNS server is a writable domain controller. So um, again, we store the zone in Active Directory. Okay. Again, Active Directory zone replications. I'm not going to get too much into that, but again, you have your forward lookup zones. You know, and before anything, these are um, so. For example, um, these are the different types. Right? So these are the different types of DNS records. Again, DNS can also be external and internal, like I mentioned before, and I explained to you a little bit about it in my diagram. Um, so you have to kind of understand how that works. There are different types of DNS records, like your new host A, quadruple A, new alias, CNAMEs, exchange records, new domains, PTR records, MX records, server records, DNSSEC records. And again, then you have your FLZs, your forward lookup zones, and your reverse lookup zones. Um, Reverse lookup zones are pointer records, right? And the address.arpa tables. And what else? That's that. Um, so back to the drawing board here. Resolves and converts IPs to host names and host names to IPs through a zone. Those are the zones. Um, DNS records. Um, Again, it's like I said, it's like the yellow pages. So the DNS is a database and similar to a person's name and phone number. And then DNS translates those simple names for people to use to IP addresses that the computer is used to locate a network. So for example, you have a couple clients that want to connect to a website, like I mentioned before. Those couple clients that want to connect to a website, the IP address is x.y.z.a, right? Or 10.110.100.13.114. And I want all these clients to access it. As it's easier to remember the actual name, do google.com. A computer still needs that complicated address, right? So that's what DNS is. Very important that you guys know what the differences are. If you don't know, you know, um, do a little bit of research. You can Google some research, but straightforward, pretty easy. Show you guys a picture of that. Copy that. I'll put that in my diagram here, and that's it. That's that. So we talked about the DNS. DHCP is a little bit different. Again, it's IP, but we're not going to talk about DH. Actually, no, well, yeah, let's talk about DHCP. We'll talk about DHCP. DHCP, not DXCP. DH, DH. So dynamic host configuration protocol. Provides IPs automatic. So it's just an automatic assignment of IP management. Automatic assignment. It does help IT administrators, like your network, your server, your systems, monitor and assign those IPs in the same network or just in a centralized manner. DHCP is more for IP management. Um, you know, a company has, let's say, 1,000 machines in their environment, and in reality, IPs can't manually be assigned by us admins manually. That would pretty much take a long time, right? So, DHCP could be installed as a rule on a server, right, or just hosted by a third-party solution, um, right, and get that. So, management, IP management, meant and assigns. Signs provides, right? Provides IP addresses to devices automatically. And that's important to understand the difference, right? So you guys kind of understand that again, as IT administrators, um, as IT administrators, or in the networks team, in your servers team, systems team, that monitor and assign IP addresses, um, you know, that helps us a lot, um, because as a company who does have, like I mentioned before, if you have those 500 to 1,000 plus machines in the environment, in a lab environment or just a test environment, for a project, and we're testing those 500 plus machines. Those IPs in reality can't be manually assigned to each machine. It would take a long time to manually assign those machines in a static environment. So, we have to install that rule. And that rule is, I think I've installed it already in one of my rules. I don't know which one I have it installed. I think it's in this one. Yeah, I have DHCP installed. Let's take a look at what DHCP looks like here. Um, Down here, let's look for DHCP. There we go, DHCP. So, right, so this is just the DHCP machine. It's an old machine. Obviously, it looks like it hasn't been touched in a long time. So I might have to might might have to create a scope. I think the scope. Do I have a scope? Yeah, I have a scope. Oh, something wrong with it. I don't know. So anyway, yeah, there's something wrong with this DHCP. But again, this is an old machine. That's a machine that I might have to delete this machine later. But again, it's got its scopes here. Yeah, see, it's a different scope value here. So that's why you got the red marks here. I think the services are still services. The services are still running or stopped. I'm not even sure. I'd have to double check if the services are running. So let's take a look at the services. Run services dot MSC. Okay. And I think the HTTP service is not even, let's restart it. See what happens here. What other services are running? Okay, that's all running. Okay. See what happens now. Yeah. Like I said, it's just a machine. I don't think it matters, but just to kind of show you what a DHCP does. And we're creating the scope. We have our address leases. If we want to lease something, we're more than welcome to add that. We also have reservations. So reservations are dynamic. So they ensure that the DHCP is always assigned the same IP address, which is kind of cool, especially when you're leasing a subset of IPs. And I don't know if you guys ever heard of IPAM. So IPAM is part of reservations, which is also a service. I can do a video on that too one day. It's a role we can install, if I'm not mistaken. I think it is IPAM. I think it's a feature. Um, there you go. IP address management, which that's just managing IP address space and infrastructure. So it supports the automatic discovery of servers and and there's a 3 or 4 step process for this. Again, I can install this. I'm not going to show you guys how to do that. That's totally different. Again, third-party solution companies do offer this as well too. You can also download this uh, feature, install it yourself, and test it as you want. Um, and do some good reads. There may be some good reads laying around for IPAM. Let's see, IPAM, uh, Microsoft Learn Docs. See what there is. So again, IPAM, some information on what that is, what's new, server commandlets that you can use. Uh, Again, it enables the end-to-end planning, deploying, and managing and monitoring of IP address infrastructure and domain enriches and a rich user experience. Automatically discovers the IP addresses and DNS servers on your network and enables to manage them. So there's that. Do some training on that as well too. We can read up on that. I'll probably throw another video for you guys one day if I get enough response on it. I'll see if I can show you guys how to do this. It's pretty cool. Okay, so that's done. Scope options. These are our scope options. Hopefully I'm not missing anything. Just different scope options. We can add, remove, refresh, delete. Add different options. Here are some great options like for MECM servers. You have your 66 and 67 options, DHCP options, and you can give it its value. So whatever the value is based on the router. So the router's IP or server name. And you also have your DNS servers. You give out your DNS servers and or server name. That's that. Then there's some policies. If you want to create new policies, you can also create new policies or add different conditions um, and whatnot. Then there's your filters. You can allow, deny services to any MAC address in the list. And that's it for that. You can add and remove bindings. If you want, you can add and remove those bindings. Select the connections. So you want a separate server binding or a separate external switch. If this list is empty, can verify the static IP address. It's configured for this computer. So that's that. Nothing too spectacular. I thought I'd throw that in for good measures. I want you guys to understand the differences. So here's our Windows Server 2019. I'm going to install that. Show you guys. I had some problems in my last video, but again, why not resolve them with you guys and kind of give me your insights and see if there's anything that you guys want to learn or sometimes you do have videos, people they forget to, they'll say something, they'll go back to it, they'll forget it. I like to, add into my sessions. That way, um, you guys get the experience that way. So this is standard. It's optional. It's most. Oh, we'll try the desktop experience standard or the data center. It's up to you. It doesn't matter. Um, you know, Again, it consumes extra drive space. It can be useful when you want to use your desktop or you have an app that requires it. Again, it doesn't matter. I'll install the standard evaluation. Let's just um, stick to the data center because we have two data centers in our thing in our Active Directory RED. And click next. Again, custom. Next, finished. I can also add different drives here after when I shut it off. I can add those specific drives. I can add those drives later and we can create RAID options with different drives. And that's it. So let's go back to our, is that, so let's get to the good part here. This is our Hyper-V manager. Finally, we're here. We're at that step. So our Hyper-V manager, let's talk about Hyper-V, guys. This is the best part. So let's give it some character if we haven't. Again, given the character, we install VMware tools. We add the auto login once we've installed that. We can change the computer name, do the sconfig, disable the IE enhanced security, disable IPv6, restart the VM, not restart the VM, sorry, power management, turn off the power and then restart. We can create a snapshot of that VM if we'd like. Um, then this was the fix for Windows 7. It was a security update. We can also install that. I don't think I had to, but we can still install it. I'm not sure what this is for, but let's go ahead and, you know what, let's go ahead and install this. This was actually a fix that was given to me. Um, but I do have VMware tools installed. Okay, so let's go ahead and open So again, we can download that. We'll download it and we will open it and install it. See how the Hyper-V is on the 2019 machine. Let's go back to Windows 7. We're waiting. So this will install it, the update for us. And yes, I do want to install it. I do. This was actually a fix for uh, the VMware tools. Again, I installed um 11.0 or 11.0 points. I don't know, one less than 11.1. You're more than welcome to try 11.1 or more. It doesn't matter. But because we're on Windows 7, they recommended this. This is just the best practice. So I've gone ahead and I'm gonna install that update on Windows 7. Best practice. And then wait for Windows 2019 server and make this a little bit bigger. And then Hyper-V, do I have time or should I just wait? Okay, so what's next on our agenda? Again, our tools, I'll give you guys the links for those, the package that'll have all the latest versions of it. We've installed an IE and enabled ActiveX. I showed you guys what to enable, what not to. We gave it some character. I think we gave it it's a work group machine. We don't have to give it a static IP. I don't want it. This is just for troubleshooting. Um, Again, static IPs are for critical resources in the network. That's who requires a static. And the non-critical machines, like your client machines, we can just provide DHCPs for those, okay? DNS role, IP name. Yeah, we did create the FLZ, the for lookup zone, and we called it the company.local or domain.com, your domain.com. We had given a read and write copy of the DNS, right? And then that creates a new zone. Its database file is here. Let's see if I can bring you guys here. And that's where that is on the DNS itself. So if I go back to this machine here, it's got the DNS role and I run and I paste, it should bring me to should bring me should bring me to the folder that I want. There we go. So this is where our DNS files are. Right? And we can open that. And this is our database file that holds all the information that we need. Very important for backing up. Again, we have our backups, right? Our DNS documentation, our zones, all here, all in that location. That's where our database is. So good advice for you guys, especially for newbies that are still learning this. And then again, we can choose both the non-secure and secure updates. I think I went through this already. I've explained what that is. That's just a read-only copy of the DNS, and then our stub zones. And then we also use the NS lookup to configure it. We did, because usually it'll give us a loopback address. We can always change that, and then use the nup lookup to resolve IPs. I showed you that, or we'll show you that. Let me show you that. So if you go to the DNS manager, right, um, your zones, these are our primary, secondary stub zones. Um, for lookup zones, we create that here. We give it a zone name, right? And then Here's the internet, also important. There's another website. I think I've already talked about this. I'm not too sure, but this is the public information regarding internet domain name registries. So if you want any information regarding that, great place to come here. So give you all the information that you need. So search who is, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're looking for a IP network or domain name, say for example, I don't know, Microsoft.com, right? We'll look up that website. I'll look up that website, and then that'll give us all the information that we need, right? Not a big deal. Contact info, domain administrator. Again, not a big deal. Um, this is all informational. Next is our Hyper-V setup. And again, that's to access to the outside world, right? That's what our Hyper-V is, right? So we call our external network or external virtual switch and creates it. Or like Microsoft best practice says that a bare metal machine needs to have 4 to 8 or 10, maybe 10 NICs. Again, we can create NIC teaming. NIC teaming, pretty cool. So if I go here, and I have uh, two here, I can enable this, right? Right. And then let's see what I can do here. So I'm able to um, create a new team and then add the specific adapters, right? And then, you know, explain what I want here. So for example, I want these two, and I'll call this team, my team, my team Nick. Again, call it whatever you want and hit OK. Right. So these two will um, act as a switch independent and for load balancing. Um, there's an error here, but again, you guys kind of get the different. You guys kind of get the gist of things. Um, again, faulted. We can look into this and see why. Um, fresh. Again, we don't need this. We'll just delete it for now. You guys kind of get the understanding about it, right? Okay, that's done. Disabled. What else? Oh, here's our IPAM. IPAM is finally installed. I think it's 6 sections. If you look at it, you'll see most that there's 6. Yeah, it'll connect to the IPAM server. We can provision it, configure the server discovery, start discovery, um, select or add servers to manage, and then retrieve the data. This is all taken care of step by step. We just need to click on it and follow the instructions. Um, so yeah, that's another topic. Cancel that wizard. What else? Okay, so our 2019 server, I installed the wrong one. Installed the UI one. Okay, so I have to delete this one. Okay, so then let's go ahead and reset. So we'll boot from the CD-ROM. Okay, that's DNS. Okay, so um, you have to install roles. In this case, hypervisor doesn't need a role. Um, it doesn't need the role. It's an optional role. You can install DNS, DHCP, but if we're talking about logic, um, it will install after the restart. Hypervisor. So I mean, hypervisor is a role that will install after we install the logics behind it, like our virtual switches, our virtual machine. If we migrate, default store, we have a SAN solution, you know, and then we have our confirmation, right? So we need to create our virtual switch, um, right? Because best practice in Microsoft is that you must have one network card in each Hyper-V that's available for RDP connection, right? Or at least remote desktop connection. Um, so you need that one, and that's obviously in a production environment where we're not in a production environment. We're just in a test environment. So one Ethernet is okay. We can add as many as we want. We can create NIC teaming. All other network cards that are a part of that can be connected to the virtual switch. Okay. In our instance, here, yeah, let's go here. Okay, so in our instance, let me see if I can copy this here. Copy this. Copy. New. Save. So, um, maybe? Okay. Okay. Again, we have our server that's 2012, or in this case 2019. Um, we have an external, we have our operating system, and on top of that, we have our hypervisor too. Um, and that's setup is to access the outside world, and as a hypervisor, so it will host the virtual machines, and it isn't an operate. Remember that. So Hyper-V is not an operating system; it's a hypervisor that hosts virtual machines, right? Um, that's really important when we talk about that, because inside Hyper-V, we'll create on top of that, we'll create a VM, or we'll create two or three virtual machines, and then the virtual machines will have its own NICs, and those VNICs, these little green triangles, will also connect to the virtual switch to communicate with each other, and then communicate with the outside world, okay? Such as your external network, right? Outside world internet. Our internet, again, is Ethernet 0, our physical NIC on our bare metal machine. And this is all nested virtualization, because these VMs are nested within our bare metal machine, right? And hosted inside of a hypervisor such as Hyper-V. We have that physical NIC card, which transfers the inbound and outbound data. Like I mentioned before, we can have NIC teaming. Since there's 3 added here, if we had 2 more, we can pair those physical NICs, and we can call it, like, again, like my team NIC or boss NIC or whatever you want to call it. And then that network card controls all the other network cards in the NIC team. Okay. And we call our external network, or external virtual switch. That's what it's called. And then the Hyper-V will create it. Okay, make sense of that. It's very important when we talk about these options and what they do. What else? Um, yeah, that's I think that's it for now. Okay, on that part. But again, our Ethernet 0 connects to the Ethernet switch, and then from the Ethernet switch, the Hyper-V VM's VNIC. So these are VNICs here. Um, those are VNICs. The logic here in this case is we're connecting the first virtual switch, so this virtual switch, to a physical NIC, so Ethernet 0 right here, and that'll allow all other VMs um, inside to communicate with each other and to the outside world. Um, That's what our virtual switches. We also have virtual machine migration. Again, in this we do not choose the allow server to send and receive live migrations. We come back and we can always click on it, and that's in the options when we talk about the options. Let's see what else. let's go step by step here. Why not? Um, okay, okay. So right click. Again, you can create a virtual machine, and this is a virtual hard disk and a virtual floppy disk. So we can create our own virtual machine by following the instructions here. What I want you guys to understand, and this is important. Um, what else? What else? Okay, talk about here. VHD. I think I've already talked about VHD. That's the old 2008 based Hyper-Vs. It used to support the 32-bit operating OS and applications. So the virtual disks of Windows Server 2008, I don't have it, so I can't install the actual client on that, the role on that. But those virtual machine extensions were called VHDs, and those support disks up to 2 gigs in sizes. Or their VHDs also stands for virtual disk extension. So they don't, these VHDs or 2008 servers don't, the generation one, obviously, they're called generation one machines because they can be created inside a 2012 R2 for backward compatibility. Um, so, that's also important. What about here? Okay. Okay. Do I have that information here? HDX backward compatible. Do I have that? Do I have that? Do I have that? Let's see. Do I have that information? That's fine. No problem. Okay, so this is what our hypervisor looks like right now. And these are both hypervisors, machines, bare metal machines. They're right with um, Hyper-V installed on it, which have a local physical disk. And again, um, these disks on the SAN environment are connected to shared disks, right? And these LUNs can connect to its virtual disk on the virtual machines, and not the local physical disk. So that you have to make sure that you understand that. Like in a Type 2 hypervisor, obviously the hypervisors are installed on top of an operating system. Uh, and in production environment, the hypervisors are installed on a bare metal machine or just an empty server. Okay. Um, we do have, again, I'm going to go through the settings now with you, um, one by one. So our first setting is our virtual hard disk. And again, in a SAN environment, we can change that to any drive that we want it to be, A, B, E, or F. In on my Workstation Pro, the virtual machine's hard disk and virtual machine files are on the same folder usually. And in an Hyper-V, they're in separate paths. Um, right? The GPU, like for example, the GPU is used for gaming, um, cryptocurrency, AutoCAD, Autodesk, Adobe Photoshop. A physical Dell server will detect that, right? So you want to make sure that you understand that part um, when you're going through the steps. It's a virtual switch. We're not going to do that yet. I click, and we're going to go through Hyper-V settings. Okay, and again, physical GPUs, um, as mentioned, um, that's used for gaming, right? Um, so if we had it on our machines, it would have already detected it, but because we don't have it. Again, it's used for gaming, crypto, AutoCAD, Autodesk, for like big applications, Photoshop, videos. Dell physical server will detect it automatically. So a lot of our machines, when we buy it, we need to ensure that we have that. We install the role service to enable remote FX and GPU management. You can take a look at that. Uh, yeah. So that's that. Then we also have NUMA spamming. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of NUMA spamming, but if we click on it, um, our SQL, for example, our SQL, we have servers, 2 or 3 servers on here, and then our SQL servers, our file share servers, our web servers. Again, our SQL servers consume a lot of CPU and RAM during peak hours, which makes it less available for other machines. For example, if hundreds of users are connected to NUMA spamming, this will give whichever machine, these 3 machines, whichever direct access to CPU and RAM, which is important. So we can enable that. Um, Again, System Center Virtual Machine Manager. Um, again, we have these tools disposable to manage the Hyper-V infrastructure, like manage Hyper-V Manager, failover cluster. So that's used in part of System Center, which is a suite of applications that where we manage those virtual environments that deploy different hypervisors, like Hyper-V and VMware ESXi. Um, but again, what is it and why would you choose it over other tools that are available to you? Uh, our next is our live migrations. Live migrations. What do we got about live migrations here? That's generation 1, generation 2. Obviously, when we're talking about the 2 generations, I did mention it again, it's backward compatible. That's why we would use that. Um, Needs to be migrated back to an existing 2008 based hypervisor or Hyper-V. So 2012, 16, and 19 they're all supporting 64-bit applications in OS, and that virtual disk extension is VHDX. Okay, and we'll talk about that too. When we talk about generation 2, we also talk about Secure Boot Pixie, um, WDS. Um, Obviously, in WDS server, we have a WDS server, and we need to deploy Dell desktops. That service, that master image to the service, we install the OS and the apps. We take the image of it and then upload it to the WDS server, and then we deploy to the other desktops. Since it has a network, um, that's what Pixie is. Since it has a network card over here, every laptop can boot from that network card, and it's Pixie's compatible. It grabs the IP from DHCP, like I mentioned before, and then the DHCP will refer you to a server. We also, okay, blah, blah, blah. And again, we'll create our first virtual NIC. I've already created the first virtual NIC. We'll just go ahead and start showing you where we can create the first machine, and we will go ahead and start that right now. So let's go back to our settings. This is synchronous replication, not important in this one. This is synchronization between an active and a passive server. So if the active goes down, the passive becomes active. This is where virtual machine configuration files are. Okay. Then this is our virtual hard disk or VHDKs axis. That's where that would be. Close that. And let's go ahead and set up our virtual switch. already done so. And hit OK. And then we'll go ahead and go to virtual. Uh, no, we don't have a SAN, so we don't need to do that. We'll pretend that we have one. Um, yeah, let's go to new. Let's go to new virtual machine. Um, this is the wizard. Next, let's create uh, VM01, right? And we're not going to store in a different location. If we did, we can change the location of drive based on the RAID configuration or extra drives that you have. Again, we can, you know, create an extra drive here. So I can add another hard disk, right? Next, and then create a new one. Here at 60 gigs. Let's say 500 gigs. Doesn't matter. Split it to small files, then leave the name as is, and then there's your 500 GB. I can then right click and go to disk management, and then should be able to, when I reboot the machine, it'll should be able to uh, rescan the disks, see if it'll catch it. Uh, scan, refresh. I'll have to reboot the machine. Let's reboot the machine. And cancel. I'll come back to this. Let's just reboot the machine. Uh, restart. Restart. So I'm restarting the machine, and then we'll go back here. I'll just go buzz by this quickly to install it properly. So I'm going to install the graphical environment. So next manages the command prompt and push this one here, desktop experience. Click next. Okay. So I've formatted the drives, and this is still rebooting in the meantime. I'll be right back. So just remember when you're installing it, you're installing the GUI version and not the UI PowerShell script version, which is the lighter version. Um, a lot of companies will use that version when they're installing the server, but the GUI is widely known and it's got extra features. Um, it is a lighter machine by all means when you're installing the login with UI login with PowerShell. There's not that many. Um, doesn't load a lot. The performance is much better, but again, in this instance, we're using the GUI version with all the services and roles and binaries. Um, it does take time to learn the PowerShell version, but in this instance, we want you to kind of show you what it is, so that way you're aware of how that works. Hyper-V. So let's go ahead and open up our Hyper-V. Hopefully let's load Hyper-V Manager on our 2012 server. Let's go ahead and oh, 1 second while it finishes up. It looks like it's slowing down a little bit here. Oh, we're just transferring the files. Not to complete. I'm just going here for now. Loading, going. Okay, we're almost done. Okay. I should be able to go to this PC desktop. There we go. Let's just boot that for now. Apply. And then apply the changes. And see what the okay, that's good. Hit okay. And then let's boot. Connect. Select start. Start the virtual machine. So we are gonna boot from this. So we're gonna move this up here first. I didn't realize that was the issue here. Apply, okay. And we're gonna reboot. Reset the machine. Not letting it. There you go. Should be good to go. We're not doing Pixie enabled on this one. We're just installing Windows 11. And then here's my administrator. All right. Click. All right, and there's my machine. Let's go ahead and install this Windows 11 machine. And we should be good to go for now. Don't have the product key. I'll install that later. We'll do Pro. Next. And this should kick off. Again, okay, so this doesn't meet the requirements. That's fine. But again, you guys get the understanding. I think secure boot needs to be enabled. If it isn't, I'll have to make sure it's enabled. Yeah, it's enabled. TPM chip enabled too. We'd have to enable that. Yeah, I think that's it for now. We should be good to go. Um, yeah, that's about it for now. Um, so okay. Oh, let's install another media then. To eject that. Let's install insert. We'll insert a disk in this machine. Let's go with this one here. And open. Install now. Okay. Yes. So we will reboot. Go back to reset. Let's install Windows 10 for now. Okay. Um, settings. Try Windows 10 for now or server. Let's put a server in here. Okay, options, shared folder. Let's add, I don't know what to add here. Applications. Um, okay. Next. Finished. Okay. Right. Refresh. 10. Let's give it the 21H1. Install Windows 10 this time. Okay, so that's done. Let's mount that. Let's turn this off. Turn off. Right click. Settings. DVD. Mount the Windows 10 desktop. The Windows 10 on. Okay, apply. Okay. Right click. Connect. Should work now. There we go. So it should click next. Next. Install. Good boys and girls. There you have it. It should now start installing. Accept license terms. Custom. Next. Windows 11. Yes. Okay, let's go ahead and install the role. If we haven't done so, it looks like we have it. So we'll go here. Go to local server. On this work group machine, we will dashboard, go to add roles and features, click next, 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 Hyper-V, yes, install, should install, have any issues. That's Windows 12 machine, we didn't have to add those 3 lines of code. So once that reads it, should go on to the next, there you go, should be good. Next, and then I should be able to use my Ethernet, which is my external adapter. And then let's explain, I guess I can explain a little bit about what CredSSP is. if I haven't. So when we're talking about CRED SSP, you the admin um, or the user logs in and then um, connects to the hypervisor uh, or Hyper-V to initiate a live migration. CRED SSP also uses authentication, AAA. Then there's also Kerberos, which is also uses Kerberos. Again, if we do not choose the allow server to send and receive live migrations, we can always come back and click it later. It doesn't matter if we click it or not. Kerberos again, uh, before, if we remotely RDP'd into a Hyper-V and we initiated that live migration, um, then we would use Kerberos. Again, that also uses authentication. So it is important. You know, if, again, it's important for a lot of things, especially for authentication, authorization, and accounting. So again, if we don't choose it to send the live migration, we can always come back and click on it. So again, um, I will click next. These are the two default locations. Please make note of that. If we had a set environment, we would be able to change the environment based on the drives that are there. I think, did I install? I might have to install. Might have to install that, cancel, close that out. Um, what else? Let's see, disk management. So for example, if I want to enable, run that. Let's see if we were supposed to run disk management. Okay, I can enable two disks here. We'll enable both disks. Uh, I did do it already. Did I not do it? No, I have to add two disks. Okay, so let me add two disks. Should I do it here? Did I do it here? I think I did it here. No, did I not do it here? Anyway, let's add two disks here. Let's add a disk. SCSI. Create a new disk. Let's say 500. I'm not going to use the 500, guys. Remember that it's not mandatory, and I'm going to use a split. Again, I can also use one single file, but again, I don't recommend it in a production environment. If you have the resources, why not? Again, splitting them makes it easier to move for migration, right? So we'll do that. We'll keep the file name consistent. Click next. Then I'll add another disk. Same thing, 500. Next, 500. Next, next. Finish. Okay. It's not hot swappable, so probably might not. Yeah, so I'll have to wait. So that's how the virtual, um, let's say create a virtual disk using Hyper-V. The machine is compatible. Um, so again, I am able to install it. But I think with this version of Server Manager, um, it doesn't allow. There are break fix methods that I'm able to do. So again, I could show you that once this finishes. Again, you guys kind of get the gist of things, pretty straightforward. I'm now going to end this video um, and finish it here. It's been a long one for me here. So I'm going to stop here. You guys kind of get the gist of things. Give it a try on your end. Let me know what you think. If you have any problems, join the WhatsApp group and ask me questions there. Thanks again for joining me today. I appreciate it. I hope this session was very informative. Again, like and subscribe and join the group. Join the WhatsApp group. Everything's on the um, will be posted either today or tomorrow uh, in our YouTube channel. Other than that, thanks again, guys. Have a great one.